My affair partner called me at 11:47 on a Tuesday night. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in 6 months. When I finally picked up, he didn't say hello. He simply said, "Your husband was right." I sat up in bed. What? There was a long silence. Then he said, "Everything he warned me about." My name is Olivia. My husband's name was Daniel. My affair partner was Ethan. And the last person I expected to tell me my husband had been right was the man I'd destroyed my marriage for. Daniel and I had been married for 13 years. We met in our 20s. We weren't perfect, but we were happy. At least, I thought we were. Daniel was predictable. He came home at the same time. He liked quiet weekends. He planned vacations months ahead. He remembered birthdays. He paid bills early. He made sure the car had gas before I needed it. I used to call him boring. I didn't understand that boring was sometimes another word for safe. Then Ethan came into my life. He was everything Daniel wasn't. Spontaneous, confident, restless. He'd text me at midnight. Come outside. And I'd find him waiting in his car. With Ethan, I felt young, desired, interesting. The first time he kissed me, I knew I was crossing a line. I crossed it anyway. The affair lasted almost a year. I became someone I barely recognized. I deleted messages, changed passwords, invented meetings. Daniel noticed. One night he asked, "Are you happy?" I snapped at him. Why wouldn't I be? He looked at me for a long time, then said, "Because you haven't been yourself for months." I walked away. A week later, he found out. There was no dramatic confrontation, no screaming. He simply placed my phone on the kitchen table. I know about Ethan. My whole body went cold. I cried. I apologized. I told him I loved him. Daniel looked exhausted. Do you love him? I couldn't answer. That was all he needed. He moved into the guest room. A month later, I left. I moved in with Ethan. For the first few months, I felt like I'd won. We stayed up late. We traveled. We went out constantly. We laughed. We kissed. I told myself this was what real love felt like. Then the excitement faded. Ethan started coming home later. He stopped planning things. He became irritated by small habits he'd once found cute. One night, he looked at me and said, "You're always unhappy." I laughed. "That's because you don't try anymore." He stared at me. "That's what you told Daniel, isn't it?" I froze. What? That he didn't try. I looked away. Because I had said that, many times. Over the next few months, we fought constantly. Ethan wanted to move to another city. I didn't. He wanted to spend more money. I wanted to save. He wanted children immediately. I wasn't ready. Every disagreement felt like proof that we'd made a mistake. But I couldn't admit it. I'd destroyed my marriage. Everyone knew. My family knew. My friends knew. Daniel knew. If Ethan and I failed too, what would that say about me? Then one night, Ethan asked, "Do you still talk to Daniel?" No. He looked at me. Good. I didn't understand. Why? Ethan didn't answer. 2 weeks later, he left. No warning, no dramatic fight. He simply packed a suitcase. Where are you going? I don't know. What about us? He looked at me. I don't think there is an us anymore. I cried. I begged. I promised I'd change. He shook his head. You've been promising that since the day I met you. Then he walked out. I didn't hear from him again. Until 6 months later. The phone rang at 11:47 on a Tuesday night. Ethan. I almost didn't answer. When I did, he said, "Your husband was right." I couldn't breathe. "What are you talking about?" "Daniel." "What about him?" "He warned me." I sat up. "About what?" Ethan sighed. "About me." I didn't understand. He told me what would happen. When? Before you moved in with me. My heart started pounding. "You talked to Daniel?" "Yes." "How?" Ethan laughed bitterly. "I called him." "Why?" "Because I started having doubts." I couldn't speak. Ethan continued, "I wanted to know if you were really unhappy with him." "And he told you?" "He told me he couldn't answer that." "Then what did he say?" Ethan was quiet. "He said I was confusing excitement with love." My eyes filled with tears. "He said you would make me feel like the most important woman alive. He said eventually I'd get used to it. He said when the feeling disappeared, I'd blame you." I whispered, "That's exactly what happened." "I know." Another silence. Then Ethan said, "He also told me something else." "What?" "He said you'd eventually look at me the way you'd started looking at him." I closed my eyes. "Like I was the reason you weren't happy." My voice broke. "He knew." "Yes." "But he didn't try to stop us?" "No." "Why?" Ethan's voice softened. "Because he said he couldn't save you from a choice you were determined to make." I started crying. "Did he hate me?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "No." "He loved you." "But he knew loving you didn't mean he had to chase you." That sentence destroyed me. I sat alone in my apartment for a long time after the call ended. The next morning, I called Daniel. He answered. "Olivia?" I talked to Ethan. Silence. "He told me you warned him." Daniel sighed. "I didn't warn him." "What do you call it?" "The truth." "What did you know?" Daniel was quiet. "I knew you were unhappy. I knew you thought another person would fix that. And I knew eventually you'd discover that nobody can." I started crying. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I did." I froze. "You just didn't listen." That was the hardest thing I'd ever heard. Daniel continued. "I told you we needed to talk. I told you we were drifting. I told you I missed you. You heard criticism. I was trying to tell you I was losing you." I covered my face. "Do you hate me?" "No." "Do you still love me?" Long silence. "I care about you." I knew what he meant. It wasn't the answer I'd hoped for, but it was the answer I deserved. Years passed. Daniel remarried. Ethan eventually married someone else. And I stayed alone for a while. Not because I was waiting for either of them, because I finally needed to learn how to be alone without treating loneliness like an emergency. I went to therapy. I stopped chasing attention. I learned to sit with boredom. And something strange happened. Boredom stopped feeling like emptiness. Quiet stopped feeling like rejection. And being alone stopped feeling like failure. One afternoon, I found an old photograph of Daniel and me. We were sitting on our first apartment balcony, eating takeout, laughing about something neither of us could remember. I stared at that photograph for a long time. And for the first time, I didn't wonder what I could have done differently. I simply felt grateful. Because Daniel had been right. Not about Ethan. Not about our marriage. He had been right about me. No person could make me happy if I didn't know how to be happy with myself. Months later, Ethan sent me one final message. "I finally understand what Daniel meant. You weren't running toward me. You were running away from yourself." I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, because there was nothing left to say. My affair partner told me my husband had been right. For years, I thought that sentence was humiliating. Now, I think it was the greatest gift either man ever gave me, because Daniel didn't lose me to Ethan. I lost myself long before Ethan ever arrived. And the hardest part of getting my life back was finally accepting that nobody else was responsible for finding me.